Yeah.
You just have to get more strategic and make sure you're feeding yourself well and, sleeping yourself well and prioritizing what matters.
That is the other thing that I think, we haven't talked about yet, but really what we're feeding ourselves. So I was a vegan for many years. It was the worst possible. If I look back in my life and say, what are some of the things I did that I regret? It was that period, which is when my kids were young and I raised them vegans, which was a disastrous thing to do to them. And I spent a period of time, maybe a few months, as a raw vegan. That was the absolute worst. So nutrient deprived. But I thought, I have no energy. I'll just put more kale in my smoothie. And
I've been there. That's a disaster.
And then started learning about protein. And thanks to our mutual colleague, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, I was like, you've got to eat. I was into intermittent fasting and not eating till 2 o'clock. Look at the size of you. You got to have protein. You got to start, you have to have breakfast with protein. So now I have like huge amounts of protein. And this is also something I've done a lot of work. I've taught a lot of courses in eating psychology. There are real gender differences in approaches to eating and food choices, and red meat is one of them. So I tell this all the time. Like if you I've in my life planned bridal showers, for example, or luncheons, been to tons of luncheons, you would never get served a steak, for example, in those kinds of events. But if guys go for a lunch, they're going to have meat in a steakhouse. And if you look at the decor of those restaurants, for example, it's very male. Whereas for women, this happened actually recently. We were out with another couple, and the other woman wanted a salmon, and it was pretty late. I don't like eating it late, so I was going to get meat, but it was too late, so I got salmon. And my husband said, maybe the two of you should share it. And it's like, no, I didn't say anything, but no, I need that protein. I'm not going to share it. But what I see many couples doing, or many women that I go out with who are my age bracket, they will share. And often it's a cost thing, and I get that, and food is ridiculously expensive. But they also don't eat it. They will eat half of it and they'll take it home, which is exactly what happened. So I ate my whole piece. In fact, I could have had more of that piece of salmon we were served. The other woman ate half of it and took it home. She probably got 2 ounces. So,
oh, no. Yeah, I know. You're so right. This is such a good point. No one talks about this. You make such a good point. I'm old enough to know what you're talking about. And you're so right. It's so interesting how culturally we've just been programmed to be dainty and petite and take less. And I watched my mom and moms do this. Moms make sure everyone's fed before they're fed, right? So it's just sort of ingrained. And then the whole eat less, move more concept, which is so outdated. And yes, it's a piece of it. I don't disregard it completely, but it's such a toxic culture, and women are just ending up with osteoporosis because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And their brains are shrinking. They're getting dementia and osteoporosis.
Yeah. And don't realize it. And I've seen this so much where we're out to eat with our contemporaries, and women, they'll order a salad with maybe some chicken, and a few strips of chicken, and then they'll eat half of it and take the rest home, or they'll split it with their partner and barely eat anything.
And the less we eat, something really important to mention here, the less meat we eat, the less acid our stomach secretes. And so for folks listening who, I hear this a lot from my followers, meat makes my stomach hurt. I used to be there. I was a vegetarian for 10 years. I completely destroyed my health. I went from age 14 to 24 as a vegetarian. Can you imagine those critical years? I just my cartilage in my joints is so thin because of it, like critical growth years of my hormones and my musculoskeletal system. And I'm over here living off of mac and cheese, but not even a vegetarian, just mac and cheeseitarian. And I think that we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves at these critical points in our lives. And then at the end of the day, so many women would come into my clinic and they were in so much pain. That was what I specialized in. They were in so much pain And I had this dear old doctor. He's probably not around anymore. He was such a great, cool old guy. And he told me many decades ago, just get all your female patients to beef up their protein. I mean, he told me this decades ago. Get all your patients to beef up their protein intake and their pain will go down. And then you'll have a better clinical picture of what you need to address with your needle. Because I did it, regenerative injection therapies. And I cannot tell you how many skinny, older women would come in with devastating body-wide pain and terribly minuscule muscle mass, and then tell me, oh, my stomach hurts when I eat meat. And I'm like, it's because you're not eating meat. So your body's, as we age, our stomach lining atrophies. We lose the ability to secrete intrinsic factor. So we don't absorb our B12 as well. So they leads them to dementia. And we also don't secrete the stomach acid like we used to. And we end up not being able to process food. And then the dentition declines because the osteoporosis makes the jaw, the mandible start to erode and the teeth start falling out. And so these poor older folks, especially women, especially as they outlive their husbands and they're alone. So now they're just cooking for one. So they start living off of canned, mushy food. Yes. And it's so horrific, the decline that happens. Their vaginal tissue atrophies and their stomach lining atrophies, and it's all just a hot mess. And I want to put more protein in them. And so I'll start them even with just protein powder. Like, let's just get something in you that we can absorb and start working our way back, because the stomach will respond. It will come back online to some degree. And maybe we need to add some digestive enzymes and some HCl to meals, but we got to get them back because it's such a precipitous decline.